All right, let's talk about development. Specifically, how an animal develops into the fully featured and capable adult that it's supposed to develop into. So, the way I see all of this stuff is through an evolutionary lens, and I like to compare humans to other animals because it helps peel away some of the bias that we have towards our own species. Because we like to think that we're real special and unique and different from, say, other mammals, which I think is a bunch of horse shit. Excuse my French. So when a wild animal, let's just say a wolf, when a wolf pup is born, there are aspects of its development that need to happen in particular ways in order for the animal to develop into what it needs to be in order for it to survive and procreate and do all of the things that are required of it to propagate the species. And it's the same thing for a human. And this is how I say it, or how I see it. Humans have certain needs as they develop in order for them to be the fully featured and functioning member of its species, because we have roles to fill, we have things to do. And the fact is, the way society shapes us, and the way culture shapes us, and the way just modern life molds us and influences us, doesn't seem to complete the development process very well. And fortunately, the way it's all set up, that doesn't immediately kill us. So we can get by, and it's not the immediate end of our world in the way that it might be for a wild animal. If much goes wrong with that wolf pup during its development, it probably won't last very long, because the demands are too high, the stakes are too high. There's not enough of a framework in place to help out if anything goes wrong. But we have that framework. We have those support systems. We have technology specifically that will keep us alive and keep us, productive, even if we have developmental issues. And to be clear, we all have developmental issues. And why is that? Well, a wolf growing up in the wild is still living basically the same life that species was living 100,000 years ago. There's really very little difference there. Some mild climate changes, some changes to the specific animals that are around, quantity and whatnot. But by and large, the lifestyle is still the same. Wolves haven't developed technologies. They haven't developed verbal communication in the same way that we have. They haven't developed culture in the way that we would describe it. So everything's still kind of the same. And so as that wolf pup grows into an adult, it's hitting all of those developmental milestones on schedule and according to plan. And for example, some of those might be like it's getting the social inputs that the species is expecting to get as part of its development. It's getting all of the other puppy interactions because they're born as part of a litter. They're outside in that wild, untamed environment. So they're getting all of the things that provides, all of the temperature fluctuations, all the visual input and the audio input, and all of the varied and unpredictable terrain, and all of those things that influence how those systems develop. It's doing the appropriate kinds of play, which includes, mock fighting and chasing and all of that. It's getting the appropriate exposure to adults, and it's able to learn from the adults, able to play with and be disciplined by, and be able to model after the adults. All of those things come together to paint a complete picture so that pup grows into a fully functioning adult. Then there's us. And we are not living the same life that we were 100,000 years ago. It's changed drastically. And as far as the biological development of our young into adults, it has not been an improvement. And maybe you could argue we've improved in a lot of other ways. That might be true. But the way that our species is anticipating on a DNA level, the way that it's anticipating our children to develop into adults is compromised. 100,000 years ago, we were living in tribes. We were outside, most of the time. And same thing like with the wolf pup. Kids were play fighting and running around, being outside. They were able to have access to adults in the appropriate ways and the appropriate amounts, and probably of their own discretion, so children could choose where to be and when. And at the very early stages, more exposure to, say, women, and as they grow, the men, the little boys, would gradually spend more and more time with the men and modeling their behavior, including running around with bows and arrows and trying to hunt, learning to hunt. And that, whatever that picture was, and we don't know exactly what it looked like, but we have pretty good ideas based on modern hunter-gatherers, based on archaeology and anthropology, all of that. We've got a pretty good idea of what life pre-agriculture looked like. But whatever it was, whatever the specifics were, you can surmise that it was appropriate to provide the correct development so those kids turned into fully functioning adults without hang-ups, without big gaps in their psychology, without big gaps in their physical bodies, without huge flaws. The developmental process had to work. And I say had to work because if it didn't work, our species wouldn't have survived. That's the foundation of evolution, is that it works and it produces functioning organisms. Because there's no point in going through the process of evolving to have a system that doesn't work. Evolution weeds out the ones that don't work. And so all of the things that needed to happen, whether it's learning by modeling, learning how to interact with people, how to socialize, how to know when the person that you're playing with wants to continue playing or doesn't like it when you do a certain thing. All of those things are important for the development of a child into an adult. And not only are they important, but in the evolutionary context, they had to happen not just correctly, but on schedule, because there wasn't room to have a man-child in a tribe, because the tribe needed people to be functioning and to be good. There wasn't room for people that weren't good, that couldn't provide more than they consumed. And it takes, even in that context, in an ideal context, it takes a long time for a child to start producing more than they consume. And if it could be done faster, it would have, the species would have evolved a way for it to be done faster. But basically, that's as quick as it could be done. You know, by the time you get into a teenage years for a young male, okay, then they're starting to break even and they're starting to produce more than they consume. But it takes a long time, and that's under ideal circumstances. So how does that compare to what we've got now? Well, what we've got now, this is just my reading on it, how I see what's going on. We've got a lot of incomplete development. We've got stages that are being skipped over. And that is like full spectrum across the board. And that just creates so many problems. And it goes from the psychology, like not being able to model after, say, fully functioning adults. We don't have exposure as kids to good role models. And I'm gonna say that this is probably more so a problem for men, because as little boys, we don't have good exposure to good role models. And part of that, there's a couple of factors there. One is that the way we perform work in modern society is that you leave and you are out of reach from children. So if I go to work, my kid isn't there with me. He doesn't get to see what adult work is like. He's separated. And additionally, kids in school are usually only exposed, or predominantly exposed, to female role models, because most elementary and middle school teachers in this culture are female. And so young boys don't have access to strong, fully developed male role models. And that's a big problem, because modeling that's primarily how we develop, how we learn what appropriate behavior is, how to relate to others. Like you need to be around good examples. And now to bring it around to myself, I'm at this point where I'm just more and more aware of the gaps in my own development, where I missed out. One of those being male role models. Doesn't mean I didn't have any, but I don't think I had enough. And so what I'm doing now is getting more and more aware of that. And I'm working on gathering the tools, resources, and the help necessary to fill in those gaps. And in so doing, I want to improve the quality of my life. And just as, if not more importantly, I want to be able to be how do I put this? Just a higher level contributor to society and to my family, like on all levels. I want to perform better. I don't know what else to say there. That's what I want to do. I want to do better. So I'm working on that. And I'm hopefully, I don't know why I say that, hopefully. And I am producing ways of sharing that information so that as I get better, as I learn more, that experience can be helpful to more people than just me. I'm looking around right now because I'm expecting to get picked up by my wife. She's gonna be driving home here. I'm gonna leave you there with that because there was a lot of rambling. But that's what I'm thinking, that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm working on. And stick around if you want more. All right.